Good morning. This is Siva Divaki from MassMailer. Thank you so much for joining this webinar today. Today we're going to talk about a topic, a continuous topic about drip campaigns and auto responses. So basically, we'll take a look at how to send an auto response to an inbound lead and put in a drip campaign, which is a very classic use case scenario for most of the customers. So MassMailer does support the drip campaign, a sequence of emails that can be invoked from Salesforce Process Builder, Salesforce Flow Builder, or the Cloudflow Designer. But today I'm going to demonstrate the Process Builder approach though. MassMailer provides an Apex class that can be called in actions in Process Builder. So if you're familiar with Process Builder, you would know what I mean by an action, by an Apex class. But I'll demonstrate this as well. MassMailer supports sending email alerts to campaign members that can be scheduled in a series. So there are options for you to schedule the email alert, which can be a drip, meaning it doesn't need to be just one email alert. It can be a sequence of email alerts, but those are scheduled at some intervals. So we do support that using the power of the Process Builder. And similarly, you could send an auto response email as well. We're going to take a look at how this can be done. So our use case scenario is that whenever a lead comes into Salesforce, if it meets certain criteria, then you want to add that lead to a campaign. Basically, you're going to create a campaign member, right? When you say that you want to add it to your campaign. So that's one process. So basically, we have a few processes that we're going to take a look at today. But this is one of those processes. And this is the beginning of the flow. And here in this example, you can see that I have, again, this is a process that's running on campaign member. We will have certain criteria, and if it meets the criteria, then you're gonna take an immediate action, that is sending a lead response email, and then you can take a scheduled action. Whatever the time interval, maybe it could be in hours or days. I would mention that time limit, and then you're gonna invoke the drip one. And you can schedule more. You can invoke drip 2, drip 3, drip 4. By adding more scheduled actions. That's not demonstrated here, but it's possible to do it. Okay. And this is how the drip one email process would look like. This is the invocable process, as you can see. So this is getting called in the main process. So we will have some sort of a drip one criteria. And if it meets the criteria, then we'll have an immediate action to send the drip one email. And similarly, you can have drip 2, drip 3. All of them are going to have similar kind of a logic, with an exception that they may be using different template. And also maybe the criteria could be different as well. And then, as I said, we have an Apex class that you're going to invoke as an action in your process. So these are the parameters that you need to pass, especially when you're actually using campaign member as an object. You would have to give the record ID field that is always fixed to campaign member if you're using campaign member object. Template ID, that's the Salesforce ID for the template. And from name and from address, you want to know, or you want to give who is the sender, and then you want to mention who is the recipient, the to name and to address. Again, these are going to be relative, meaning those are the campaign member name and the campaign member email address. And finally, the campaign ID as the field reference. Basically, that's another field that you need to pass. so that the Apex class can identify the campaign ID and then process the respective campaign members in that campaign. Okay? So these are the basic parameters, the attributes that you need to pass to the Apex class, even though there are a few more options, but these are the mandatory ones. Okay? Now let's take a look at the process within Salesforce. So I have a drip campaign that I created. So I'm assuming that if you've been following MassMailer, you would know how to create a MassMailer campaign. So I'm not going to go through all the steps. So assuming that you created a MassMailer campaign, meaning it has the campaign member status values already set, and it doesn't have any campaign members, we're going to add a campaign member to test it out. So there is an ID here. So this is the ID that we're going to use to uniquely identify this campaign. And then we have the process builder. So look at this process builder. This is basically adding a web lead to a campaign. So let's take a look at this. So here, this process is running on a lead. Whenever the lead gets created, we are checking if the lead source is web. This is our simple criteria. It does not need to be the same thing. You can have your own criteria. Whatever is your organization requirement may be, you will have that criteria given here. So if it meets the criteria, then we are creating a campaign member, and we are giving this as the campaign ID. As I said, the campaign ID that we were just looking at, the campaign that we were looking at, that is a campaign that we are associating this lead to. And then we are just saying, hey, lead ID is lead ID. So that's what it means. And then status is new. So basically, there are three fields that we are passing to this campaign member in order to create a campaign member. So one is a campaign ID, and the lead ID, and the status. So these are the three things that are mandatory. And if your requirement is to actually send out auto add contacts to a campaign, you would do the exact same thing. Instead of lead ID, you would select a contact ID. So that is the only difference. And then status new, the new status is from MassMailer. So when you set up MassMailer campaign, in a way it is nothing but a Salesforce campaign. We automatically add status new. So that is the status that we are picking here in order to send emails. But if your business requirement says that you need to add the status should be something else instead of new, that is okay. You just have to select the respective status value here. As long as you do not suppress any of the status values in your Apex class, you're fine. We will pick up all the status values that are there. So we don't discriminate. So if you ever needed to suppress anything, there is a way to suppress it as well. So this is how you create a record. So this is one process. Yeah. Now let's take a look at the other processes. So this is another process that I defined, drip email to dynamic campaign member list. So basically what it means is that the campaign member list is not static in the scenario, right? So because we are constantly adding the campaign members as in when we get leads from the web. So it is not dynamic. It is not static. It is dynamic. So meaning today you got, say, 10 leads. They get added to the campaign. They are put in the drip. And tomorrow you may get another 20 leads. And again, those are entered into the same campaign, but they'll start from first, auto response. So that's how it is called dynamic. So it's not a static list. And then here, if you look at it, so we are running this drip on campaign member. Whenever the campaign member record gets created, again, we'll have certain criteria. Here, again, we are checking for the same campaign ID here. The campaign member, campaign member campaign ID equals to this particular ID. So this is the Salesforce ID. Once again, if you copy paste this, you will see that it is matching with this ID. Okay? And then campaign member status is not equals to unsubscribe. So we have an additional criteria here that says campaign member status is not equals to unsubscribe. And you can have any other criteria that could be an exit criteria for you. Again, this is just an example. You can have whatever criteria that is meant for you, right? To uniquely identify the respective campaign member that you want to process. So that's the kind of logic here. And then here, if you look at it, the immediate action is a lead response email. I'm just calling this action name as a lead response email, but otherwise, all you're trying to do is just send an email alert to the campaign member the moment the campaign member gets created. And you would see this template ID. So this is the template that I'm using. And this is nothing but the Salesforce template ID. So whether you create templates in MassMailer or in Salesforce directly, you will get this template ID when you navigate to the templates in Salesforce. Okay. And then here we are giving the record ID. Again, the campaign ID, a campaign member ID is the record ID field. So this is kind of fixed. And we are giving the from name and from address. And you have to give the campaign ID as mentioned. Campaign ID is nothing but the campaign member dot campaign ID. And the to name, you can again mention what is the recipient first name. It could be full name. It's up to you what you want to pick. And then to address, it's again going to be the email field on the campaign member, and that's what you're going to send email to. Okay. And then, so this is the lead response email. And then after 2 days, you're saying that after 2 days of the campaign member created date, I want to invoke drip1. And drip1 is nothing but another process that we defined called drip1 to campaign member. And we are passing this campaign member as a reference. So basically, you're calling a process from another process. So the called process, that is drip1 to CM, is called invocable process. And then when you're actually creating any process, it's going to ask, is it triggered when something happens in the platform, or whenever record changes, or is it getting invoked by another process? You would select that it is getting invoked by another process. That's how you create an invocable process. Okay, we'll take a look at this drip1 to CM as well. So basically, you're calling another process called drip1 to CM, and then passing this campaign member as a reference. Okay, so let's take a look at drip1 to campaign member. So here we have the campaign member, and then drip1 criteria, where again we are checking for the campaign ID. It's the same campaign ID, and then campaign member status is not equals to unsubscribe. Then we are actually sending an email. Again, send email 1. It is going to have the same thing, except the fact that it has got a different template ID, and the from name is different, and the to name is different meaning. The from name and from address you need to mention. To name, to address, and the campaign ID you got to mention here. Okay, so this is nothing but the drip1. And if you wanted to create drip2, so you could actually easily go out and clone this, and then you just say, hey, I want to actually create a brand new process, not a version, brand new process. Give a name here, and let's call this as drip2. And then save it. So now you have the process created. We're going to call this as drip2 criteria, and we'll keep the same conditions. Or if you wanted to add more, that's fine. So for an example, let's say I want to add more criteria here. Let's say this is status, and then you want to check pick list not equals to, you want to say dropped, for an example. So it does not equals to dropped, only then send an email. So you can add more criteria like that, okay? And then save it. And then you're going to send email to this time. So you could select a different template ID. I'll show you where to find this template ID. And the rest of the fields are the same. There's no difference. So except the template ID could be a different one. So let's go take a look at, so I'm in Salesforce setup, going to go type in templates. You would want to go to classic email templates. That's where we store all the email templates. And then you can select any template, it doesn't matter. So I'm just checking if I have anything that I want to pick as the drip 2. It's okay. Let's just go select template from here. So if you see this ID, I think it's gonna look nice if you go to classic. They display the ID nicely. So let's switch to classic for a moment. In the next release, we are gonna display the Salesforce template ID in the template builder itself so that you don't have to navigate to the screen. So here is the template ID. So you just have to select that, copy paste that into your process. If you want to use a different template, and you just copy paste that, and then rest of the details are the same, and then you just save this. So basically this becomes your drip 2, okay? And then in order for this to be in, ready for adding to another process, you just have to activate it and then confirm. And then you go back to the other process that you have. Let's see, where are we? Okay. So let's say you want to go to process builder, and then we're gonna update the drip campaign that we have. And here we can go clone. We're gonna create a version of the current process. And then here, you could actually set the schedule after, say, 5 days from the created date. Save it. And then you could invoke drip 2. So here you would just say you want to invoke another process, invoke drip 2, and then drip 2 to campaign member is what we just created. And in a subject, the field reference, you got to select the campaign member record that started your process, and then choose. Okay. So you basically do that, and then sorry, lost it. Okay, translate it to CM, and then save this and save. Okay, so basically all we have done is we just added the drip 2, and we are invoking the drip 2 after 5 days of created date of campaign member, and then you could just go activate this. So you're basically activating the latest version that you just updated. Okay. So now if you want to test it out, you would go to leads, and then we can add a lead to the campaign. So now we are actually just going to go make sure that we have the other process that is active. Add a web lead to campaign that is active. And then drip is also active. So I would just go here and click on this new button. I'm just going to give a name. And then I would just enter the company information. And then the lead source, I'm actually going to go check or select web. That is the criteria that I have. And rest of the information is just the basic information, nothing else. And the status, again, this is just a new status. This is just an example. And then save. And assuming that you're actually collecting these web leads maybe from your web form, and you're maybe using web to lead form to create those leads, that's okay. This is just a demonstration on how you can add a lead to a campaign automatically, provided it meets certain criteria. If you have a logic that is actually creating those leads, whether it is a web to lead form or any other means, as long as it is meeting the criteria that we have in the process builder, it will be added to the campaign automatically. So if I just go save this, then it should create the lead, and then it should also add the lead to the campaign. So the drip one email campaign, it just got added. So if you go to the drip campaign, you would see that it would have added one campaign member, and then it also, it's processing the email. Shortly, it's going to deliver the email as well. Right? So basically, the process builder that we have here, this one right here, the moment the campaign member gets added, and then we are checking for the criteria, the lead response email got generated. So that's the one that we must have received. Could be from there. Okay, so I think this is the one. So you can see that we did receive the email. This is the lead email alert that I got set in the process builder. It was just sent 1 minute ago. And you can see the merge field is also working. So all of that is kind of good. And that's the lead response email. And then the second one, the email that is drip one email will start after 2 days. And obviously, we're not going to wait for that long. So after 2 days, it's going to create this invoke drip one. And after 5 days, it's going to create this invoke drip two. So that's the kind of logic. You can have as many sequential emails as you want in the series, and you can have an exit criteria as well. So anytime if you wanted to stop any campaign member to receive an email, you just have to have an exit criteria in the respective drips, so that let's say you sent an email, or rather you put a new lead into a drip campaign, you got a response from the prospect, and you want to stop. So you can create some status called abort or something for the campaign member, and then you can select that as an exit criteria. So meaning in drip one process, you would just mention the criteria that the status does not equals to aborted, kind of a thing, right? It's an example. It's all up to you how you want to define. It's so flexible. So that way, you can stop sending further emails to that particular campaign member because the status is aborted. So that's kind of neat logic that you can have using Process Builder. It's so powerful, it's so flexible. You could actually achieve the same thing using Flow. I plan to talk about the Flow Builder, the Cloud Flow Designer, in subsequent webinars that we're going to have. We also plan to ship out the templates for the Flow, meaning in the future releases, you will actually see these as templates. So that way you don't have to really create these ones from scratch, at least the basic ones like, sequential dip for campaign member or the campaign or a lead. Those ones we're going to ship out with MassMailer. That way you can just go clone them and then make changes according to your requirement. That can be done in the flow. So we plan to do that in the further releases. So if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email always. I'm available. Here is my contact information. You can send an email to me directly, or you could just drop an email to the company email address, or you can actually go to our website. We have a support portal as well, support.massmailer.io, and drop an email as well from there. Or you can just call us to our office number. And this is a weekly webinar that runs every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So you would, if you are already in our database and if you did not opt out, you would receive an email. Or if you ever wanted to join our webinar, just go to our website, and there is a join webinar link on our website. From there, you can register. Or you can also look at our social channels such as LinkedIn, Facebook, and various Twitter, various social channels that we have, where we always post when is our next webinar and what is the topic. We also upload the webinar videos to our YouTube channel. If you're interested, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And if you're in our email list, you would receive this as a recording. You will also know the next topic. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Have a great day or have a great night. Bye.